The three events I want to talk about. First, I want to speak to Governor Lee's decision to reopen businesses on May 1st, with some opening as soon as April the 27th. I support the general direction the governor is doing, but each of us has needs that are tailored to our respective jurisdictions. The governor has given our county and the municipalities within it the authority to make their own decisions. However, I believe the governor's decision to reopen will only be successful if each city within our county will move in the same direction as our governor. I know and I hope that we all can move in the direction the governor wants to go, and that we can do this if we're working together. Working hand in hand, we can bring this economy back, and we must start to do that soon. Citizens that are 60 years of age and older must continue to be cautious. Social distancing is still extremely important, as is the personal hygiene, more specifically, the washing of our hands. Our Hamilton County Health Department will continue to be aggressive in testing for the COVID-19 virus, and it will continue to progressively and aggressively perform our contact tracing, which we have found to be extremely successful here in our county. Hamilton County citizens have done an outstanding job of following the directions that they've been given here in Hamilton County, and we hope that they will continue to do so. Again, with the emphasis being placed on the contact tracing that they've been doing, the aggressive testing that we've been doing in our county, and also the monitoring. All of these are really important going forward as we reopen. And because of this, we feel like Hamilton County is able and will reopen on May the 1st, and I sincerely hope that our municipalities will do so as well. We will continue to communicate with the federal, state, and our local groups and individuals as to what precautions must be taken. Lastly, I communicate with our health department, Becky's here with us today, numerous times daily, and obviously will continue to do so. To date, we have 121 patients that have been tested that are positive. 89 of those positive cases have totally recovered. We have 6 patients that are hospitalized, and of those 6, 2 are in ICU. And not all of these 6 are Hamilton County residents. In total, we've had, unfortunately, 13 tragic fatalities. And we do continue to mourn with the families the loss of these lives, and our thoughts and prayers continue to be with them and their loved ones. And all these numbers are comparatively low, given what has occurred in our neighboring state in Georgia, as well as in the state of Tennessee. And we have great citizens here in this county to thank for this. We will continue to hear a lot of discussion about data points, and you can be assured that we are closely monitoring hospitalizations and positive testing for the COVID virus. And if we start to see a significant reversal, then we will reconsider our decision. In closing, please allow me to thank every citizen in our county for their continued support and their cooperation during these trying times. I realize that the COVID-19 has impacted not only our local economy, but our citizens as well. Please know that we are here for you during these tough times. And I look forward to restoring our workforce and returning a sense of normalcy to our economy here in Hamilton County. Thank you. Next, I want to talk to you and give you an update on our tornado situation. We have emergency management here with us as well. Our emergency management, what we want to say, first of all, to all the citizens here in Hamilton County, and particularly the ones that were unfortunate that were impacted. I believe it was somewhere around 43,000 of our people were in that area where the tornadoes touched down on Easter. Damage assessments are continued to be made by our local emergency management, by TEMA and FEMA as well. FEMA continues to be on the ground, and they're looking at and surveying over 13,000 properties, so there's still quite a bit of work to do there. I want to say I'm so proud to live in a county where we've had so many volunteers turn out with everything from chainsaws to heavy equipment to just personal labor with with their gloves and boots and ready to go to work. But so much gratitude to all of the people that have volunteered. On Saturday alone, I was just at one location at the YMCA where over 800 people signed up that day to go out and help people, strangers they didn't even know. Speaks volumes to what kind of community we live in. I really want to give a lot of thanks to not only our first responders, the people who were there from the very beginning, that were there to do rescue and recovery, to our utility workers, the EPB and the others that have stepped up during this time, that now in the restoration phase of putting the utilities back together. And then what you're going to see next week, or hopefully in the latter part of this week, is the cleanup. And this process will literally take months. So again, we call on the public to be really patient with us. We know, we started getting phone calls 2 days after the tornado wanting to know when we were going to clean it up. And if you've been out there, it is a mess. People are working as hard as they can, 6 days a week, 12, 13 hours a day, in efforts to clean it up. So we're looking forward to that. I also want to say a special thank you to Red Cross, Salvation Army, to all the churches, all the faith-based churches here in our community, the way they've stepped up and they volunteered and had groups come out and to help us as well. We got a special donation of a warehouse from Kinko, for example, through the American Red Cross as well. To our 911 dispatchers that are unsung heroes. And speaking of unsung heroes, to all the people that work in emergency management. These are people that haven't left. The director, Chris Adams, was there several hours before the touchdown of the tornado and has been there every day since. So again, really proud of what they've been able to accomplish. Also, on the update on the damage, what we have right now is residential. We've had over 1,755 residential homes has been affected. Unfortunately, 254 of those homes were totally destroyed. Those are people that lost everything. We've had 5 businesses that were totally destroyed, 76 that were impacted. For a total, if you look at all of the damage, we had 2,908 buildings and homes that were destroyed. It's quite an impact. So again, to the emergency management people, to our health department, we thank you. Both of them have had to work hand in hand with both of these crises that are going on here in our community at one time. We still need the public's help. I mean, we're still taking donations out there, foods, particularly canned foods or whatever, for people that are picking it up. And I know you can talk to emergency management, some of the other things that are still needed out there. You can go to the YMCA, still up and running, the CSLA school, East Hamilton School. But again, our community and the way they've stepped up has been phenomenal, and I'm confident we'll continue to do so. The last thing that I really wanted to touch bases with you, before I leave the tornado, I do need to give this cleanup hotline. And this is for people that if you're a victim of this tornado, if you call this number, we can get volunteers to you, connect you with people that can give you resources you might need. And as you know, there's a number of different resources needed. And the hotline is, the area code is 844, and the number is 965-1386. And we encourage anybody out there that's we haven't touched base with to reach out. We have a lot of people with a lot of pride out there, ladies and gentlemen, that don't ask for help. This is not a time to be a hero. Ask for help so we can get you the resources you need. And lastly, the thing I wanted to touch on, and we'll take some questions, is about the COVID virus and in general, and what's been going on with our health department. And I'm so proud of where we are in the amounts of testing that we're being able to provide now. We have the National Guard coming in here on Saturday. It's going to test Saturday and Sunday. Our health department's sending tests to their lab every day, 7 days a week. So again, we think we're making some big inroads there. And I want to say, the commitment that's been made in this county, County Commissioner Greg Martin's here with us today. The commission has certainly stepped up to help us with that. We've brought back retired employees that were very familiar and a lot of experience in contact tracing. You're going to hear me say that a lot because we think in opening up our economy again. Again, the real important things that we got to do going forward is to test, to monitor, and to contact trace. And the people that Becky's brought back out of retirement or whatever have done a phenomenal job of contact tracing. And we look forward to putting more and more emphasis on that as we open the economy back up. But again, I can't give enough accolades to how well our health department has performed under some really unusual circumstances with the COVID virus. And I'm really proud to say that here in Hamilton County, we're only responsible for 2% of the state of Tennessee's people that have tested positive. 2%. Again, all of this weighed into the decision about opening the economy back up here in Hamilton County. She's experienced the health department 14 days of being steady or slight declines. So it's been very consistent with the testing. It's been very consistent. And again, the numbers in the hospital are declining. The numbers of the people in ICU. So again, all of these things are very favorable. We'll continue to look at them extremely close going forward to make certain that we don't have any outbreaks when we begin to open up the economy. Questions?
Mayor, so on May 1st, would you like to see everything open back up to normal? Do you want to stagger it? What do you think is the best way to do that?
It's a great question. No one should expect that on May 1st that everything's just going to go back to normal, right? We're going to go through this in phases. What we're doing is in consult with the governor's office through our health department. We're very fortunate here. We have, Hamilton County has its own health department. 89 other counties have state health departments, but we have our own. Gives us a lot more flexibility. So, you know, what we hope to see and we want to see is going to be some restrictions. You know, when you open, some of the requirements with a lot of emphasis will still be about social distancing. So what we want to do is, whether it's going to be retail, wholesale, restaurant, or whatever it may be in the future, what I'm hopeful for is we've got some kind of uniform way that whether you're in Hamilton County or Bradley County or Coffee County, wherever it may be, you know what to expect when you go there, of what you're going to see and how you're supposed to handle yourself. So again, I think it's really important that we do this, you know, working together, working hand in hand with one another going forward. But it's not going to be no holds bar, open the doors and everybody's going to do. There will still be, you know, some restrictions that are going to be in these different types of industries. And the governor got a lot of confidence in the people that the governor's put in place to help figure that out.
Sarah, then Kylie.
How does this play with the advice given or being created by the task force that you and Mayor Burke and the 3 other large counties and municipalities in the state recently entered? And why is there such a disconnect between what the county and city have done throughout the COVID outbreak?
Well, I don't know that there's a disconnect. I mean, I think the common thread is that we want to, you know, protect our population as much as possible. And I mean, I think it's always been everyone's intent to eventually try to bring the economy back. As far as the task force goes, I mean, the task force has been great to work with, to bring about recommendations, and they have brought forth some good recommendations. But as you see with some of the people here that are the decision makers, that's what the recommendations are intended for, is so you can make good, solid decisions based on good information, good data. And some of that I've explained to you today when we're talking about, when you look at the numbers here, you know, really proud of the fact that, you know, it's sometimes frustrating. Becky will send me an email every day, or we'll talk on the phone numerous times a day on what the numbers look like today. We've got 1 positive, or we have 2 positives. I can't remember the last time we had more than 3, which is not uncommon. We're testing a lot of people. And the good news is, the reason I feel good about this, about going back, is because what we've been able to do, what we said we would do to you, standing here the first day, is we wanted to test, you know, the people that were patients in the hospital, the inpatients, then our healthcare workers, then our first responders, and then the people that were symptomatic, and then to the people out there that wanted to be tested in the general public. We got to that point pretty quickly. thanks to the due diligence of our health department, the people, and I know Sabrina Novak's back there that's coordinated the testing, to where now we're doing the drive-through testing. And if you want to be tested, you can be tested. But we think that's a really key point in that, but I hope that answers your question.
Kylie?
Okay, just to clarify, Mayor Burke's office says businesses within city limits will not reopen May 1st. So a business, say in Ooltewah, is allowed to reopen, but a business within city limits will need to get authority from Mayor Burke's office, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, if you live in the city limits, and as I said, this was really important in our discussion the day before, well, it was actually yesterday, in the discussion with the governor. I mean, the governor made it very clear that he wanted each of us to be responsible for our jurisdictions. And again, what any respective mayor may choose to do in the 10 municipalities we have within Hamilton County, it's their choice. We're trying to do what we're doing based on, we're trying to get restart the economy, but we're also doing it on some good, strong, hard facts that we know where we stand. And if you look at some of the other 89 counties that are opening up, you're also, their numbers are in some instances are worse than ours ever were, unfortunately, because we don't want to wish anything bad on anyone, right? But again, I applaud the work our health department's done.
Michelle?
So, Mayor, we're kind of in a unique situation with the tornadoes, and a lot of people are coming together, they're working closely together, and I'm not knocking that. But is there, now that more testing is available, is there anything to kind of, are we testing those volunteers or maybe the EPB workers that have been working so hard? Is there anything like that?
That's a great question. One of the things that, and Ms. Barnes and I have been talking about, as a result of the tornado, one of the things that kind of, bothered both of us that we'll probably do, we just need to contact donors, is we had an Alzheimer's facility and an assisted living that was had to be evacuated. It was the Alzheimer's facility, the Lantern, was destroyed. The other one, I think they can redo. What the health department wants to do, which is the right thing, which is to test. Those people are in a hotel and they're going to be moved to another healthcare facility, and they want or need to be. The health department wants to test them before they're relocated, because one of the things we don't want, and you've seen outbreaks, we saw it in Sumner County in an assisted living facility. We don't want that, and the health department's done a great job of making sure that hasn't happened yet. And the other place that we've seen recently, just over here in Bledsoe County, is in jails or prisons. So these populations that are vulnerable populations, yes. The workers out there, if any of them want to be tested, absolutely. And totally, if you've got any symptom, that may lead you to believe, don't take a risk if you've been around people like they have been out there. So again, it's available to whomever wants to be tested. And that's the really important part.
Thank you.
You said that there's good data that you're making your decision based off of, but open community testing has been going on for an extremely short amount of time. Do you really think that there's enough tests to make this decision?
Yes, and here's why. That's a great question, Sarah. Why do I feel that way? Because I told you the population we tested, and we did a big outcry to the public and made a lot of emphasis on anybody out there. We did this through the medical society, to all the doctors' offices, to all the hospitals, to anybody in the medical field, and said, if you've got any symptomatic patient, you need to send them to us right away. And we had a good response to that. So we know anybody that had symptoms we're testing. And that doesn't mean people that are asymptomatic might not be out there and still have it that hadn't been tested, because they hadn't presented any symptoms. But we feel real comfortable that the people that have been symptomatic or the people that have been exposed have been tested. And just as important as that, and I can't emphasize this enough, because you're going to hear me say this a lot in the weeks and months to come, is the contact tracing that they've been able to do to be able, whomever it is that is presented positive on these tests, to be able to go do contact tracing to run down every individual that's had any contact with them. So, we're really pleased with where we are. Don't want to jinx ourselves. We're not patting ourselves on the back yet. but I feel comfortable that we're doing, better than the average in the state, better than obviously the average in the country, and I think the timing's right. I think there's a lot of people that, unfortunately, this is not about money. I mean, when you listen to the business community and the medical community, you're starting to hear the medical community come over and say, there's a lot of people in the medical community that have small businesses that are struggling. They're laying people off. There's a lot of that that's going on. We're just trying to find some mechanism, to make it safe for both. We would never ever think about or consider trying to open it back up if we didn't feel comfortable.
Kylie, you got another?
Yeah. What would you say, you're saying it's safe for a restaurant or retail outside of the city limits to reopen, but then the city governor, mayor is saying otherwise. How do we address that conflict? For the average person living in the county, it makes it confusing that they can sit at an Ooltewah restaurant and it's deemed safe by their leader, but then go to a Chattanooga restaurant and that's not deemed safe. How do we address that disconnect?
Well, I can only speak for what we're doing, and again, it goes back to the measures that we're going to put into place. And I think Michelle mentioned it early on. She's exactly right. We'll go about this in phases. It won't be everything open up at one time. And when we get around to restaurants, the restrictions that will be placed on restaurants that they would have to, adhere to will be such that, and social distancing will be a big part of that. Okay, so I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into it. It's not like it's not going to be like it was prior to the COVID virus. It's just not. We're a long ways from there, but we're just starting to creep into it. We're going to phase into it, and it's really important to a lot of people to try to get back to work.
You said early on that this will only work and get back to normal if all the municipalities play game. What dialogue did you have with Burke before this, since we know that he does not agree with this decision? And what are you hearing from the other municipalities in the county?
Well, I've spoken to all the other municipalities today. And let me say this. I know everybody loves conflict, but there's no conflict here between me and Mayor Burke. We're going to end up the same place eventually one day, right? It's just, we may get there differently. But eventually the economy is going to open back up, I think. At least we all hope so, right? But I have a lot, and I want to emphasize, a lot of confidence in the people of this county, and I've witnessed it and I've seen what's going on here, where people understand what the health department's been saying almost every day at 3:30 about the importance of being cautious about social distancing, personal hygiene, or whatever, and that's what's helped bring the numbers down. I don't dispute that, at the time when we had people shelter in place at home, impacted that. But what we've seen now is a habit that's changed. And I got confidence that the public's going to continue to adhere to that. And here's why, because if you go out now, I go to the grocery store, you see most of the people with masks on. You see people that when I used to go in there, it was a lot of conversation. It was almost a social event. That doesn't happen anymore. I think, that's going to be the new normal for quite some time, probably till we get a vaccination. And I got confidence that people, as we open back up, when they go into different places with their families, or if they're just going to run an errand, I hope that people aren't going to do, because they're bored, they're going to go out and just walk around a mall or something. I hope they're only going to go from point A to point B because there's something they need to get or something they need to do. And I got confidence that will happen. Not everybody, there's always going to be some bad actors. We've seen a lot of bad actors during this period of time too, right? But the overwhelming majority of the people out there are going to protect themselves, they're going to protect the families, and the health department has given them tremendous information about how to do that. And so I'm confident that we're going to act in a manner that's going to make it safe for everyone, because that's really important. How I act when I go into to the grocery store is just as important as to be protecting myself is them protecting themselves from me. So I don't want to be part of the problem, and I have a lot of confidence in this community. No one wants to be part of the problem. Everybody knows the seriousness of this COVID-19 virus. Everybody wants to help to solve it. And I'm really proud of what I've seen in the community.
We'll take 2 more questions, Michelle.
Okay, so Mayor, from now until May 1st, are you guys going to kind of talk and come up with, this is how we're going to kind of reopen in stages, and if you do go out, you kind of come up with how this is all going to happen so everyone at least has a guidebook?
Yes, great question, and we're in the process of doing that now. That process has started, following the governor's call. What's going to happen, as I said, is there's going to be some guidelines and some regulations that are handed down. What we want to do as closely as we can is follow the state guidelines so there's no confusion. As I've said earlier, wherever you go, you know what's required of you, and you know what's required of the business industry that you walk into. They will facilitate those restrictions to our health department, and again, they'll be disseminated from there. So really, all we're waiting on now is for all of us to come to an agreement. I should say that the governor's put together an economic recovery group, and this group that he's put together is pretty outstanding, and they represent a lot of different industries and a lot of the payrolls. So they have an interest in making sure, and the good news is they're not greedy about just wanting to go back to work or for them to make money, but they employ quite a few people as well, and so they know the importance of these jobs as well. So again, it will go into phases, and not even sure which ones will be the ones that open first. I mean, some of that's still under review. And certainly, the guidelines are certainly still under review as to what will be required. But one of the things, I can't emphasize it enough, is we know is there's still going to be social distancing requirements. Okay? I mean, we still know, everyone that's been following this, that it's still not a good idea to be within 6 feet of somebody or to be in groups.
Sarah, final question.
What role, if any, did protests and other political pressures play in your decision to reopen?
0. None. Okay, again, thank you all for coming. I mean, again, it's, these are some really tough times in Hamilton County. We're very, very fortunate to have some of these people over here. If you want to talk with any of them, have any questions for them. In our public health department, really proud of what the Hamilton County Health Department under Becky Barnes' leadership has accomplished, and certainly with our emergency management team, as you can imagine, they are extremely stressed. There's some more of our health people in the back of the room, but again, it's really important for the public to know and to see that these people are out there working every day, whether it's on a tornado, which is extremely unfortunate, or the COVID-19 virus, extremely unfortunate, but you have really good, able people that's out there every day, putting it on the line to try to bring normalcy back to our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.